We're going to practice solving equations today, and we're going to start on page 3, the section called Variables on Both Sides. Now, when you have variables on both sides of the equal sign, we're going to try to get all the variables to one side and the numbers on the other side. So I'll start with this one. You can choose either way. You can choose to move the 4c to the other side with this one, or you can move the negative 4c to this side. I'm going to move the negative 4c because I want my coefficient, the number in front of the variable, to stay positive. So that's my choice, but that's just a preference. You don't have to do that. So I'm going to cancel out the negative 4c by adding 4c to both sides of the equal sign. Remember to draw your line down the equal sign so you remember to do it once on each side. And that gives me negative 11 equals 8c plus 21. Now that the variables are on the same side, I can move the numbers to the other side. So that would be subtracting 21 from both sides. This one cancels, and I get negative 32 equals 8c. Now that we have the variables on one side and all the numbers on the other, we just divide by the number that's with the variable. So negative 32 over 8. Let's do that on our calculator if we need to, is negative 4. So c equals negative 4. There we go. Let's do another one. On this one, I picked number 3 because it had parentheses, and the first one didn't. So we want to practice what to do when we see these parentheses. Most of you already know we're going to do the distributive property. We're going to distribute the 3 into the parentheses. So that's 18 minus 15y. And then over here, we're going to distribute the 2 and get negative 10 plus 8y. So from here, notice we have variables on both sides. So we're going to get the variables to the same side and then the numbers to the opposite side. You can move the negative 15y to the other side, or you can move the positive 8y to the other side. The choice is yours. I'm going to choose the negative 15. So I'm going to say plus 15y on both sides. And that gives me 18 equals negative 10 plus 23y. Now I'm going to move all my numbers to the opposite side. So I will add 10 to both sides and get 28 equals 23y. And my final step is just to divide by 23. Now I'm pretty sure 28 over 23 is not going to be a nice fraction or a nice decimal. It is not. And since we want to leave our answer in exact form, we're going to go ahead and say that y equals 28 over 23. And you can just leave it like that. You don't have to give me a decimal unless the problem tells you to round off. So now you're going to practice the rest of the problems on page 3 and then do your skill check. There are also some equations to solve on page 6. They're kind of mixed up. They're a little more complex. So let's practice those. It's on the page 6. It's called mixed equations. So here we go. I noticed first off, not only do I have variables on both sides, I've got parentheses. There's a lot going on here. So let's take care of the parentheses first. I'm going to distribute a 2 right here. That'll give me 2a minus 16 plus 7. And on the other side of the equal sign, I'm going to distribute my 5. 5a plus 10 plus a plus 19. So on the left side of the equal sign, I notice I can combine some like terms. Negative 16 plus 7 is negative 9. And on the right side, I've got 5a plus a. That's going to give me 6a. And then I also have positive 19 and positive 10. So I'm going to add those together and get positive 29. Now from here, I'm in the same situation as I was in the previous lesson. I need to get all my variables on the same side and all my numbers on the opposite side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2a from both sides. And that will give me negative 9 equals 4a plus 29. And now I'm going to move all my numbers to the other side, subtract 29 from both sides, and I get negative 38 equals 4a. Now the final step is always divide by the number in front of a. So if you need to grab a calculator for this one, negative 38 divided by 4 is negative 9.5. It is perfectly fine to write this one as negative 9.5 because that is exact. We didn't round anything off. That was exactly what the calculator gave us. Another way to do that is you could have gone alpha y equals and typed in negative 38 over 4, and the calculator would have simplified the fraction for you to negative 19 over 2. Those are the exact same answer, the exact same number, so I would accept either of those for your answer. The key to all of this is to work carefully because there's a lot of places where you could make mistakes. So just be very careful. Let's try number 4 for practice, and then you can do some others on your own for practice. So again, we've got some parentheses we need to distribute. Be careful with this first one. We're going to distribute a 4, but it's not just a 4, it's actually a negative 4. So be careful distributing that. So that's going to give me negative 3x minus 16x plus 32, because I had a negative 4 times a negative 8. Be very careful. Now I'm going to distribute the 2 into the parentheses. That's going to give me negative 16x minus 2. So on each side of the equal sign, on the right side, there's nothing to combine, there's no like terms, but on the left side, I can put together this negative 3x and negative 16x. I've got negative 19x plus 32 equals negative 16x minus 2. So I'm going to get my variables on the same side and my numbers on the opposite side. Let's say I wanted to get rid of the negative 16x. So I'm going to do plus 16x on both sides. That's going to give me, let's see, negative 19 plus 16, negative 3x plus 32 equals negative 2. Now I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides, and that gives me negative 3x equals negative 34. So when I divide both sides by negative 3, let's see what that looks like on my calculator. Negative 34 divided by negative 3. Oh, wow. Well, that's a repeating decimal. Now, we're not going to do the repeating decimal with the bar on top anymore because that's kind of junior high. But what we can do is we could leave this as a fraction, positive 34 over 3, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive, or you could write that as 11 and 1/3. Both of those are equivalent. The decimal 0.3 repeating is equivalent to the fraction 1/3. Now, if you get a decimal like this and you're thinking, oh, I'm not supposed to leave a repeating decimal, what do? You could always go to Math, Enter, Enter, and your calculator will change your decimal into a simplified fraction. Math, Enter, Enter. We talked about that on the front page of your notes. So those are some equations to practice. Go to page 6 and do some more of those practice problems.